This weekend, while many of us celebrate the 4th of July, we'll also pause to mark 1 year since the tragic flooding in Central Texas. In the days and weeks that followed, WFAA viewers like you helped us raise more than $1 million for the recovery, and now we're seeing exactly how those dollars are being spent in a new WFAA documentary called Hope in the Hill Country. Take a look.
So on July 4th, I was awakened by my wife, who saw the flooding on a news channel and showed it to me. And my first response was, oh my goodness, where is this happening? And it was happening in Kerrville.
Breaking news here in Texas, deadly flooding in Kerr County.
Deadly flooding in the Texas Hill Country.
No one knew this kind of flood was coming.
The velocity of this flood seemed different to me than anything else we've seen, certainly through my lifetime.
Over the last 12 to 18 hours, a foot of rain has fallen.
The Guadalupe River reaching 26 feet high.
Homes and cars have been washed away. Multiple rescues continue.
I'm 91, and so I don't have the strength anymore. And what's going through my mind is, let me hang on here.
It's not anything that I would have ever in a million years thought would have happened.
La verdad, fue una experiencia. Es triste lo que pasamos, muy triste.
This water came and took lives, took homes, and we were just really bracing for the worst.
And all the homes along the river here had just devastation and pretty heavy impacts. Completely changed their lives from that day moving forward.
After a tragedy, you hear stories from people who are affected, you see the devastating pictures and video, but you don't often hear the long-term recovery and the progress that's made to help people rebuild.
Everybody just went into action mode.
To see people just step up all over the place in all kinds of ways has been very heartening in a tough, chaotic moment.
Right now at 5, we're hard at work raising money for the victims of that catastrophic flood, and you can help.
We raised a lot of money to help Central Texas, and this is our opportunity to show people how their dollars are being spent.
We're gonna rebuild buildings, and we're gonna come back strong. But where we're gonna be really strong is in our community ties with one another.
Here to tell us so much more about the documentary is WFAA Director of Community Impact, Ryan Wood. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
So glad to have you here. So I would love if we could start with the documentary. We also saw all of the tragic events that happened almost a year ago, but tell me what sparked the project of actually it coming to life and wanting to tell the stories out there.
You know, it didn't take long after the flood began that Texans began asking how they can help. And so it was in those initial hours that here at WFAA, we decided to spin up our own charitable fund. And that's how we were able to raise over $1 million thanks to donations from viewers watching at home during that coverage. We ended up being able to give 6 grants to nonprofits that were providing support on the ground in the Hill Country to help people recover. But that recovery is not a short-term process. It's a long-term process. And with this documentary, we wanted to be able to show people at home, this is where your money went when you donated. This is how they are spending your money to help rebuild and recover from the tragedy that happened on July 4th.
To help our fellow Texans. You spent a week down there in Kerrville working on this documentary, and so tell me, because I can only imagine seeing that devastation in person, the impact that has, and so tell me, what did you feel? What were your thoughts?
You know, it was really interesting to see almost a year later how life had almost returned to normal. You know, there was the physical impact that I noticed, right? That there was a riverbed of trees and brush and plants that all had been slanted by the power of the water. But at the same time, there was the juxtaposition of people going to the grocery store, going to school, going to work, going shopping in the downtown square. So it was an interesting experience to see how Kerrville specifically has really come to almost a sense of normalcy while they're still grappling with the tragedy of what happened. with the physical reminders and visible reminders of what happened almost a year ago.
Right. It's hard to wrap your head around, especially when you're trying to take on a new day and put the right foot forward and say, okay, we're going to keep on trying, we're going to keep on pushing. Can I ask you, because like we said, almost a year to the date, and so how can we help? How can we continue to raise money? How can we continue to show up for the people in Kerrville?
Absolutely. There is an easy way that people at home can help. Rebuildker.org. That is the main donation site that the Communities Foundation of the Texas Hill Country is using to help bring the funds in. They are then the stewards of those dollars, and they are granting millions of dollars to organizations that are helping with rebuilding homes, revitalizing the plant life on the river. That's something that you'll see and hear about in the documentary when it airs tonight. It is a full process of collaboration, and honestly, it is a really great example of what can happen when all the right people get in the right place to help make sure that people who were affected by this tragedy get the resources and supplies they need to rebuild and get back to the hill country that we knew before.
Community is the foundation indeed, and we need it in order to move forward. Ryan, thank you so much for being here this morning. Hope in the Hill Country streams tonight, like Ryan just said, at 7 p.m., but you can also catch it tomorrow at 4 p.m. right here on WFAA.